name's Steve Muzan. I'm an architect, planner, and consultant on a project that I just arrived actually yesterday evening in Hawaii for the first time. Had never been here at all on any of the islands, and so for me this is completely new. What we did is went out this afternoon for, well, I guess about 3 hours so that I can load into my mind what the essential characteristics of the architecture here are. And it was actually more fascinating than what I was thinking it would be, because there is such a strong tradition amongst the old stuff of things that makes perfect sense for the regional conditions and the climate and the culture here. And you know, very often when we go places, finding stuff like that is very difficult. Here it's all over the place. I was shocked at the percentage of stuff that is actually calibrated for here versus that which is not. You know, a lot of places you go and it all looks like Orlando or whatever, you know, and so it makes no sense there. But here, obviously, some of the things that are an issue or you know, have to do with being able to cross-ventilate the houses and buildings. Also the fact that it's almost all wood construction or wood frame, and then either skin with wood or sometimes corrugated metal, is clearly because of the fact, it seems to me, of all of the earthquakes, because a masonry building would crumble in those conditions. And the deep overhangs for shade, the slopes of the roofs that make them more resistant to hurricane wind, the fact that you have a lot of the roofs are actually hipped roofs, or that's the predominant roof. There's just so much that really is calibration closely. So I'm about to go back in there and go through a lot more of the images and pull out more of them, because here's what happens. When I do this process, it's kind of a pattern hunt. And by pattern, what I mean is this. A pattern is something that happens again and again and again. If you have something that happens just one time, like somebody designs some great structure and it's very unique with, you know, special shapes or something, that's not nearly as interesting as something that people have chosen to do over and over and over, because the things they've chosen to do, you can normally assume that there was a pretty good reason for it. Now, the question is, what was that reason? Because chances are it's not going to be written down somewhere. You have to sort of decipher it. It's kind of like it's almost like a treasure hunt to say, well, first of all, what are the patterns? And then second, what's the reason for them? And then once you know the reason, or at least, let me stop there. There may have been a reason for doing something 100 or 150, 200 years ago, and we might resonate with that thing. We might say, this is really cool, I like this. You know, that this pattern that we see keep recurring. But we may not have the same reason. For example, if it's something about windows in 1830, the reason they did that may have had something to do with glass making technology. Nobody cares what glass making technology was in 1830 other than architectural historians. But if we have a reason today that we can say, you know, this is why you do your windows this way, or whatever it is, your eaves or whatever, then we're making that pattern our own by having a reason for it. And then the third part of the process that I stopped on just a moment ago, after you've been able to determine what the patterns are and figure out the reason, then the third thing is to be able to tell a story that is rational and compelling and inspiring about the reason for why this is this way. If you do that, then you have a chance of restarting a living tradition in a place. If you can't do that, you don't have any chance. And so that's the next step for me, is to go back in there and try to pull out more of the patterns. Because in a lot of cases, when I'm shooting, like this morning or this afternoon, where it was, when I'm shooting, I don't always see all the patterns as I shoot. I'm more just collecting data. And then this next process, which is to go through all the images and think about them all, that's where you start to see stuff happen again and again, where you really realize, hey, that is a pattern. You know, so I'm very anxious to discover what I find here in the next hour or two as I go through these things that I haven't even seen yet, because I know there's more patterns buried there that are important to the architecture of this place that I haven't even found yet. So anyhow, that's the next step, and let's talk again once we've found a few more of the patterns, and if you're interested.